Gentleman from Montgomery.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Unlike the federal government, we have a responsibility of balancing our budget. And the reality of it is that we can't cut our way to a balanced budget, and we can't austerity our way to a strong economy. It requires investments in very key sectors of our economy, from education to transportation, as was mentioned during this debate, all of which I support. Because when we invest in education, we are ultimately investing in a strong economy, both now and well into the future for our state. And when we invest in transit, we're also investing in economic development, because economic development is really an umbrella term, and what falls underneath that is all of the important investments that we have to make, from housing to education to transit to public safety and all of that. And so what this bill does is ensures that we're making those investments, but it finds the way for us to pay for those investments. And what we don't want to talk about, and we don't talk enough about, not just in this body, but in state capitals across our country, is the fact that we have a very regressive tax code. And too often, we put people in a position where we ask them to choose this false choice of, well, do you make cuts? Or do you disinvest in certain communities? Do you cut back in certain areas? When we all know that the money to fund these priorities exist, we just have to enact the policies that would allow us to pay for these important priorities and services that all of our constituents rely on. And that's in this BRFA. It includes combined reporting. Maryland is one of 42 states that tax the 1% less than we do working class folks in this state. We also do not ask corporations who should and can be paying their fair share to do so. And so money, millions that we would otherwise be getting every single year into state coffers, we do not. And what does that mean? It means that the very important services from the roads in your district don't get funded. The schools, the blueprint that we all agree needs to not just pass, but be fully implemented, that doesn't happen. The housing that we all desperately need in every single corner of our state, that isn't invested in. But the money exists. We just have to find the political will and the policies in order to enact that, and that is what is included in this BRFA. And so I'm happy to see combined reporting, because it's been too long that we've been deliberating on whether to pass combined reporting so that corporations that do not pay their fair share in our state, that operates in other states, that owe us, that otherwise would owe us millions of dollars and not paying it, we are saying no more. That's how we're paying for this. I heard my colleague opposite talk about, subsidizing transit, etc. What about the folks we've been subsidizing for so long, the wealthy, the well-connected, and corporations at the expense of working class people? We talk about transit and folks in transit paying their fair share. I heard my colleague opposite also mention that. What about folks paying their fair share as far as taxes? The money exists to pay for all of these priorities. Taxes are what we pay for a civilized society. Those aren't my words. Those are the words of a very prominent conservative. Taxes are what we have to pay. This is the job. This is what we have to do. And so all of these priorities we can fund if we're willing to pass that legislation, and that is included in the BRFA. And so I'm glad we're funding all of the priorities that I hope we all agree are important to each of our constituencies, but in this bill includes a funding mechanism, and it also does it in a way that is fair and is progressive, especially as it relates to combined reporting. And so I'll be proudly supporting the BRFA, because I recognize it not just funds the priorities in my district, but each of your districts as well, but it addresses a problem that none of us have been willing to talk about, and that is we have a regressive tax code. We have people who aren't paying their fair share, from corporations to the wealthy few, and it is time that we start going after that revenue and that funding mechanism so that we can pay for these important priorities rather than talking about cuts, rather than talking about austerity and all of these things. The money exists. We just have to find it, and we found some of the ways to pay for these priorities. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'll be voting green.
Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Cal.
Not working. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Appreciate the opportunity to speak on this. I guess we just heard a recitation of the Communist Manifesto. That was interesting. That was interesting. Very interesting.
Gentleman has something he wants to say regarding.
I'm saying it. I'm saying it.
Can you get?
You know who is cutting? You know who's cutting their budget? Every single person in the state of Maryland because of inflation. That's who's cutting their budget. And this bill takes more of their money in addition to how inflation is cutting into their budget. I'm hearing it every day from the citizens of Calvert County. In Calvert County, people, no matter what background they come from, whether they're doing, whether they're upper income, middle income, or low income, they are affected by the inflation that has been forced and thrust upon them by the overspending at the federal level and at the state level. And they're tired of it. And I know you're hearing it through your emails. I know you're hearing it. It's not just people in the Republican Party are hearing it, people on the left are hearing it too. That the citizens of Maryland are having difficulty making ends meet because of inflation, and they're asking, when is it going to end? And then on top of that, there's this bill, which is the largest tax increase in Maryland's history. So spare me the recitation of the Communist Manifesto. It's time to put the power back to the people where it belongs and limit the size of government once and for all. I'm a no on this bill. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Gentlelady from Baltimore County.